Okay, so hello folks and welcome back. I've got a recorded game that I thought that you would find relatively interesting. I'm going to load on into that game right here. So to start this off, I want to point out that this player right here on Team 2, the Arsenal style, he somehow has decided that he really does not like me. And so I thought it would be kind of cool to start out the game with basically just destroying him. So we're just loading on up into this. I'm going to get rid of this resource tab over here. So as usual, I'm playing on Hades. That's sort of my choice of gods. I pretty much almost always play Hades. So what are we playing? We're playing on Ghost Lake right here. I really don't like Ghost Lake just because it's very similar to Mediterranean, that you always have to go get those sheep on the ice. There's no other scouting option, because if you don't go get those sheep, you're going to start running really low on food. But as you can see, I'm one of the only people who's actually going and scouting the lake to go get the sheep. It's interesting that Arsenal is not doing the same thing. You notice he's already number one in the score charts, but you know, it's just these little things like having played these maps over and over and over again that really makes you be able to have the upper hand in these games. You notice also that I'm auto queuing my villagers. Let me just turn off view lock here and go back to my base here. You notice I've got a fairly normal setup. With this storehouse right here, you notice you always want to put a storehouse right next to a gold mine, because you know the trees are going to move, but the gold mine never moves. The trees move as in once you cut them down, then they'll be further away, but the gold mine always is right there. And later on in the game, it's important to have as quick access to gold as possible. You notice also I upgraded, or I think I upgraded hunting dogs relatively soon around here. But it's critical just right away. You need to start getting those boars right there. You need to also get a house up. I think, oh yeah, I'm building a house right here. Perfect. Okay. So yeah, looks like the only thing I've got so far is, am I upgrading anything yet? Not yet. But I'm just collecting all the sheep from the center of the map in this little area right down here, which is really nice because when the sheep are under your control, or the goats are under your control, they just slowly start building up the amount of food that they have, sort of as part of them. Don't research the upgrade for husbandry quite yet. Just do that later on. Let's see. So as you can see, I'm just still auto-queuing villagers here. I have a fairly standard 13-3-2. Most of it centered on making as much food as possible. And yeah, I've pretty much cleared this entire icy area of sheep, which is really nice because now all those sheep are mine. And as you can see, I've put all of my effort into getting food from those sheep, which is super useful. I did get discovered over here by, I think, J. Kiefer92. But yeah, he's, as I seem to recall, he's not one of the better players. I think he's just doing really well in this game because he's on the Arsenal team right there. And what did I discover? Oh, that's a sheep right there. I don't even think I saw that sheep. But anyways, going back to my town here, I just always keep 2 on a temple, because 2 villagers maxes out the amount of sort of favor that you can generate at a temple. once you do more than 2, you will still get favor slowly, but it just won't be anywhere near as efficient. Also, you notice I'm walling off this back area. It does seem like it leads to nowhere, but as you can see, like, there's already a centaur that's going that direction. So if I had done the wall like a second before, that would have been perfect. Also, it's always very important to keep an eye on these little tiny areas that you might not necessarily think need a wall, but does in fact need a wall, because someone might be able to walk through that area right there. Maybe they wouldn't, but also you notice I'm walling off my tower with these houses right here. You can also wall it off with those little tiny sections of walls that some people use as a method to stall titans later on in the end of the game. But I generally just use houses. Okay, so looking at Imperial right here, I've just got a bunch of things. Looks like I'm working on walls. Oh yeah, I'm building a wall right here. I really hate big open spaces like this just because you're so vulnerable to attack. And as you'll see, this is exactly where he decides to come into. And I think he starts attacking before I can finish this. I forget, though. Yep, yeah. And the problem with a pair of centaurs is they just deal, like, humongous damage to civilians like this. But because I had the walls almost all the way built up, what's really important is that my base is now protected. So that's, you know, one of the reasons it's important to wall off early on in the game. You'll also notice that I'm not doing that great if you look at things just by the score. But the score is not all that counts. I also have 17 idle villagers. That is not good. I feel like they've been there for a while too. But I'm upgrading... What am I upgrading? So yeah, let me just go back here. So plow, all this stuff. So basically, important thing to remember is you just want to have villagers being cranked out non-stop. That's the important part. I also, they smited my myth unit right here, they smited this unit right here. So I popped down sentinels, and then they backed up. So this is sort of that point in the game where it gets more challenging, because you notice I've put almost all of my effort into wood. I've got 1 on food, 25 on wood, and 3 on gold. Also, you notice people are starting to get more town centers. I think I'm probably going to be taking this town center relatively soon, or at least I hope I will be. This town center is what I should have gone for, just because that's like really pushing. And then I could even be using the sheep to scout over here if I had noticed the sheep, but I don't think I saw it. Okay, finally I'm moving those guys. I did build an armory right here so that I could advance to the next age, which I think I will be doing relatively soon. I just need to get the resources to do that. I built a stable right here. It's always important for you to get the upgrades for the stable. I always go medium cavalry, and then, you know, just always go forward with getting those upgrades and stuff, because that's really important. Okay, so, you know, again, I'm not looking so hot in terms of score. That, honestly, that doesn't matter. What does matter is how well you've built up your sort of home base. You notice I've got very strategic buildings and walls surrounding my entire base, So it'll be hard to just kind of come in and destroy things. Whereas if you look at one of my allies, for instance, they don't have the same style of... There's like no defense here, there's minimal defense here, and then on this side there's absolutely no defense here. And I guess they are watching this TC right here, but you know, oh yeah, so see, like, those guys are able to sneak way back here without even being noticed. So that's really not a good thing. But yeah, let's go back here. Someone puts rain down. That's one of my allies. That's super, super helpful to me. So yeah, as you can see, things are just progressing fairly standard in this game. I'm putting down a ton of farms. I think the funny thing is I'd forgotten to research plow. And I was like, how do I have so many farms and I'm not getting any food at all? And then I think finally I realized that, and it was kind of like a sort of like, oh my gosh, sort of moment. But anyways, you see the scores are just slowly advancing. I'm a full 1,000 below Arsenal right now, and that's not very good. That is, though, because Arsenal, I think, is advancing more in upgrades than I am. Okay, so let's just go back here and see. Okay, so my upgrades so far, just very minimal upgrades. Let's see. And then I'm doing the saw as well. So okay, yeah. Oh, and there's some folks back there. They're just wandering around. So it's also kind of cool. It's this sort of 13 to 15-ish time period in the game where there's a slight breather. People have generally done like a first invade by this time, and you've got just a split sort of period of time where you've got a little bit of a breather, but you got to use it to the fullest advantage possible. You also notice that I'm working on getting another settlement. I should have more people dedicated to building it, though. Grumpy Kitten, you notice all these upgrades? That's not a good idea. You don't want to get all these upgrades. That's too many upgrades. You want to focus your efforts more in a small, select manner. Take, for instance, Arsenal Style, who is doing best in the game. You notice very focused on what he's getting. What's this relic right here? So the gods send you more favor. I think I forgot about this guy right here, but favor is something that I will be using very much later on in the game, so it's very important for me. So you notice I got 16 food, 0 on wood, 8 on gold. I think I'm trying to advance right here to the heroic age. I'm just amassing a little group of people right out here because I'm guessing that I'm about to be attacked, and I think I'm about to be attacked almost about right now, because you notice it's almost right next to that 15-minute time period that I had mentioned. I advance Aphrodite, who favors villagers, and as you can notice, I've got a very villager-intense economy. I mean, everything around my entire base is based around villagers. You also notice that I've got tons of houses up. All of them are surrounding watchtowers. I've got a few more right here next to this temple. The temple acts as sort of a wall as well. So you notice that I cast Pestilence. Where'd I cast that? I think I cast it. Oh no, I cast it over here to help these guys. But I think I unfortunately cast it near some of my friends. So I think I hope it does. I hope it just targets enemies. But one of my teammates was like, "What are you doing?" Okay, so again, as you notice, Grumpy Kitten, he forgot to build houses because he was so focused on upgrades. Yeah, okay, now he's finally remembered that. But remember, I was like, that he's not doing something right, and sure enough. Okay, so let's go back to me. I'm building a few stables here. I'm also building some of these lions. What are they called? Neiman lions. They're very good. However, I think I was countered because my lions got destroyed really quickly. This pig's the curse god power is really fun. Not so much because it's super useful. It's actually not terribly useful. It's just kind of amusing to turn a whole bunch of enemies into pigs. And I'm going to actually move these guys just a little bit this way, and I think the enemy is just all clustered around right here. So, what they do here, they put down a plenty vault. Plenty vaults are very useful. If you have the choice of getting Earthquake or Plenty Vault, always go Plenty Vault unless you want to get something like Earthquake or Lightning Storm because you're doing really well and you just want to do even more well. Plenty Vault, if you're a little bit behind, always get a Plenty Vault. Light Blue is doing exactly what beginner players do. Just put walls up like this. Don't just do that. You want to have a more active advance. You notice I've got a big cluster of folks right in front of this wall right here. It looks like I didn't even finish building this part of the wall, because what's really important is just kind of slowing down the enemy as they come in. I'm advancing Forge of Olympus to reduce the cost of more armory improvements. Oh no, that's Arsenal style that's doing that. What am I doing here? I'm Imperial. I'm just doing more economy upgrades, which is, that's useful. I also was doing something that was not a terribly good idea this game. I was looping both these heavy Prodromuses and the heavy Hippicons. I think in future games I would just do Hippicons just because they're an all-around really powerful unit. Again, you notice I'm still at the way bottom of the scoreboard here. So it looks, sort of from the beginning of things that I'm doing really poorly. Okay, so heading back down here, you notice I've got things very spread out. 24 on food, 16 on wood, 15 on gold, and then 2 on favor. Also, you notice I maxed out on population right here. So I will be needing to take, I think I take this town center very quickly around this time period, because I always hate being maxed out on population. So let's go over here where the action's at. These things are, mana cores are really annoying because they're not very useful, but they're really hard to kill. Also, this moved a whole bunch of my units over this direction. I forget where exactly. Oh yeah, it moved them over here. But they're heading back, and they'll get back relatively quickly. I'm focusing on this Silver Colossus right here. Silver Colossuses are really good, but they're mostly good for attacking structures. So what he really should have done with the Silver Colossus is gone forward, attacked one of my walls. Another important thing to remember is always attack the gates in a wall if possible, because see, the gate is 625 and the main part of the wall is 750. So the gates have a lot less hit points than the rest of it. Or health points. But anyways, I came back in here. This was actually not a terribly good idea because that wasn't enough units. And then I started just going on suiciding and trying to kill these buildings, which wasn't terribly useful. So switching my attention over to the other side of the map, you notice there's a lot of fighting going on over here. In general, it's just sort of haphazard and scattered fighting. A really good tip for one of the other players would have been to realize that, you know, my walling was relatively well thought out, but they could have, like, attacked the strongest player on my team fairly easily, actually, because he had this huge unprotected area right here, and just, like, you know, built a little bit of walls around here and just pushed this way. But, let's see. Okay, so a deciding moment really came when this guy used Tornado right here. It was very, very useful. But then Arsenal popped this truce right here. That was super, super useful, because then he was just able to go back, you know, do all sorts of repairs and stuff. But at the same time, it's also a psychological attack on the enemy, because then they just start getting scared. You also notice that my units respawn as Hades Shades, which are actually really, really useful. But anyways, so, you know, just looking more things down here. And I click on a civilian here. Still, I don't have that many upgrades for those guys. Let me see what upgrades I've got for... Let me find one of these Hippicons. So right now the only upgrades I've got is Heavy Cavalry and Levy Cavalry. Fairly basic upgrades, not very good quite yet. Yeah, again, fairly standard upgrades over here as well. Again, looking at my overall sort of population and stuff, you notice I've got, let me go over to me here. So I've got 145, 145. You notice I did take this town center right here. He, of course, is going to try to attack me with centaur pole marks. I still do not understand why exactly he was trying to do that, because those things just were shredded by this town center here. But it's also interesting when you see an enemy start upgrading these sort of temple things, you know that they're kind of getting worried. So I was definitely worrying Arsenal at this point in the game. Also, you'll notice how we have a very good spread out layout of buildings right here. Like dark blue, pink, and green. It's all sort of, it forms a sort of building wall around this entire bottom part of the map. So it's very good. The one thing we didn't do very well was pushing upwards on either side. We needed to push upwards quite a bit more. I really like blue though, dark blue, because he really put down a lot of buildings in very strategic sort of manner. You notice I'm upgrading economy items, making villagers work better. In general, just a lot of economy things. I'm making it so that I can defend against siege weapons a lot more. I think that's because I saw these things and I was like, oh my gosh, these siege towers look scary. But, I mean, of course, that guy was on my team. Grumpy Kitten put down Pestilence, I think. Looks like over here somewhere. I don't understand exactly why, because honestly, Pestilence is one of those god spell or god powers that you need to use it like really early in the game for it to be that useful. More attacking going on over here. notice I'm trying to keep as many people as possible working. I think around this point I started canceling out my auto queues because I wanted to advance the next stage here. Or at least I think relatively soon is when I'm going to be doing that. Let's see here. Yeah, it's also really interesting always to look at the population of other folks you're playing the game with. Like Light Blue really didn't put very much effort into trying to get more population. And even if you just have one person like that on a team, it really hurts the entire rest of the team. Fortunately, he was offset by Arsenal, who's a 1700 level player. But, you know, this really hurts an entire team not having enough units. Because units really do matter. It's interesting also watching what percentage of the civilians are actually engaged in gathering more resources, which also shows, you know, really how many civilians you have in total anyway. So yeah, it's really important to keep those villagers going as fast as possible. Arsenal's not doing a very good job of trying to break through into my base right here. I'm really not impressed with that. I've already upgraded Fortified Town Center and Masons, which is going to make it a lot harder for Arsenal. But he is pushing forward a little bit. Again, he's doing really well. He's double my score. I've got 3 town centers. The only other people with more than 2 town centers is Grumpy Kittens, who has 3, and Arsenal has 4. Town centers, again, it's important to remember, that's the thing that makes the game run. If you don't have town center advantage, you're not going to be doing terribly well. Just go back to Observer right here. So he broke through the wall, sent a bunch of his army in this way. I suspect he's going to try to get these gold miners right here. I don't know why he didn't try, because he could have pushed them off. And even if he had just attacked on his way this direction, it would have scared me into pulling them all off the gold mine. But instead I just kept them all right there. So what's going on over here? So I've just got a lion who just somehow wandered off into the middle of nowhere. So I'm researching Artemis. I believe Artemis is the god that allows you to get... What does Artemis allow you to get? I think she allows you to get the Earthquake. And Earthquake is just one of those things that it just destroys the enemy like so fast. I might have gone similar to these guys though and gotten this Plenty Vault, but I forget exactly. We'll just have to wait and see. This is something you never want to see. You never want to see armies just kind of following each other around, just kind of playing with each other, just because it's so useless to be spending all your time just kind of wandering around like that. That's just such a waste of time. Okay. That is terrible placement for underground or underworld passage. You want to have the underworld passage in a place that's a little bit of a distance from everything else, so that if... Let me see. Am I going to toss down Earthquake? Because if I toss down Earthquake, it'll just... everything here will just go away. Or did I put Earthquake over here? Or did I get a plenty bolt? I think I'm gonna use Earthquake around here. Yeah. Okay, so yeah, as you can see, things just go downhill from here. Because Arsenal's entire forward area, it's just gone. Earthquake is one of these really, really overpowered spells. You gotta have your people hanging back just a little bit, then have them go forward and finish off the destruction that they started, because Earthquake often doesn't finish off these buildings completely. So yeah, I finished off that stable there. And even if Earthquake doesn't do a ton of damage, it does psychological damage, which is the important part. You notice at this point, light blue was getting just destroyed, decimated. He had 0 town centers at this point. And it's another thing that's really cool about Earthquake is it deals that kind of, I don't know why he didn't put down Dwarven Mine. That is really, really not good. But anyways, Earthquake kind of distracts everyone, both people on your team and people on the enemy team. People on your team, it makes feel like they're going to win the game. People on the enemy team makes them feel kind of like, oh my gosh, this is horrible. Funny thing is, the enemy team still had a huge upper hand in this game. But I suspect at this point, Arsenal and Grumpy Kitten were more focused on criticizing J. Kiefer 92, which I believe led him to surrender. I might be incorrect, but I believe it led him to surrender. And it's at this critical stage in the game that you need to be very, very careful about how the morale on your team is doing, because you have no control over the people that are not on your team. So you want to be watching the morale. So you notice I'm just upgrading all of the improvements possible. It was kind of at this point in the game that I was feeling I'm doing so well that I just want to get tons of upgrades. And so that's exactly what I was doing. I was just getting upgrades, mostly just for the fun of it. You notice I had tons of resources. I was a little low on food though, so I think I just used the market to buy more food so that I could research the Secrets of the Titans. Yeah, see, I'm buying stuff right here, I think. Huh? Maybe not. Brief lull. Don't you hate these awkward sort of brief lulls in the game where it's like, I know something is happening and I really don't like this sort of silence? But so again, I was just researching all the stuff I could possibly research. I was building some of these gastrophetes. Gastrophetes are insanely powerful. I don't think I had very many of them at this point in the game, though. You notice I'm already doing better than Obby the Rat on my team. See? Right here. He surrenders. That's because the morale just slipped really, really low. And also, remember I was talking about this wall down here? What good is a wall like that if the enemy can just put tons and tons of these Migdel strongholds and siege workshops, or siege works, I guess, right next to it? It doesn't do any good at all. So, I guess to a certain extent this game was also kind of fun for me because this Arsenal style guy he's just a jerk, and he's always a jerk on the Age of Mythology multiplayer sort of chat rooms and stuff. He always criticizes low-level players, and I think it was kind of cool to be able to just crush him in this game, mainly because he was doing the things that advanced noobs do. You just build huge armies and just fight to the death. You don't try to do anything strategically. Like even right here, you notice, why attack the strongest part of the wall instead of attacking one of the two gates, which are weaker than this really, really, really strong area right here? You'll notice that I eventually came over and started repairing this just a little bit. He did quickly decide that he needed to go attack the villager that came over to repair it. I think I used this villager right here. Arsenal then surrendered, and then the game was pretty much over. We just kind of had some fun after that. Grumpy Kitten was kind of a good sport and just hung around. I think I started building a Titan Gate and a Wonder, just because it was fun, you know. At this point in the game, everyone knows who the winner is going to be. You know, the only thing really left is, you know, just to finish out the game. Okay, so you notice I'm just getting my resources together. I've got no one on gold, although I think there's a gold mine relatively close by down here. I've got all these idols right here. There's a gold mine somewhere that I'm going to be going to, though, I think. Oh no, I think I'm just going to go get more of this wood right here and then use wood to sell that for gold. As you can see, the gastrophetes were not terribly useful because since I had maxed out on population back when I was getting them, and also since I had gotten, or I was out of gold, they weren't building. This is a very important upgrade, and I think there's another YouTuber that talks about it. But you want to get this Beast Slayer. So Greek Gods improves the improve Hatiori, I don't know how to pronounce that, the Myrmidon and Gastrophetes attack versus myth units. So a myth unit is something like a Titan. So Gastrophetes, which are very good units to begin with, are now better at killing things like Titans. Very, very useful. You notice I have line of sight of his market. Obviously he just surrendered, but you notice Arsenal also put his market in a very obvious location. Who's this that put this here? So one of my allies just started building a Titan Gate. Again, Titan Gates are one of those things that, you know, they're only useful when you're, like, obviously so far ahead that you would win with or without a Titan. Going back to my team, you notice I was getting a little kind of like, this wall's kind of going, so I just built a secondary wall, and the secondary wall gives this tower right here plenty of room to just fire away, and it also allows this tower to help out and the town center to help out as well. How's my food situation? Okay, yeah, so I'm selling wood here, as you can see. I'm just trying to get up to 1,000, and then I'm gonna grab a Titan Gate myself. It's really cool that Yellow kind of was good enough of a sport to keep his area kind of up like that. Let's see here. I think I'm going to toss down a Titan Gate pretty quickly here. It's going to go right here, I think. Again, we were just having fun at this point in the game because the game was over. Pretty much the game was over the instant they forgot to keep up their team morale with this J. Kiefer or JL Kiefer 92. And then he eventually surrendered, like I was pretty sure he would surrender. And sure enough, that's exactly what happened. But yeah. Okay. Yeah, things are just progressing fairly standardly here. Yeah. Okay, so let's go check on my progress. So I think I'm yeah, again, you know, as you can see from right here, you know, this is another cool thing though, is when you get the opportunity to defend your base against an enemy invasion, even if the enemy is guaranteed to win, as it is in this situation, it's this practicing this sort of micro of, like, how do you arrange your units and buildings to survive as long as possible? And that's something that I normally find very interesting, and it really helps to, you know, pay attention to that. I tossed down a Wonder right here. I tossed down a Titan Gate, I believe, around here somewhere. Where did I put it? Oh well, I think I put it down right here. Point being, it's always fun to have a winning game like this one. Oh, and as you can see, I'm already almost at the way top up here as well. So, you know, that's always fun. Oh, I guess I put it over here. But, you know, you only can get a good score later on if you not only keep a good economy yourself, protect your own units so that you don't have to have your enemy, or, I mean, so you don't have your allies getting mad at you, which weakens your own team morale. But also, if you have weaker allies, your allies don't have to try to defend you as well as themselves. They just have to worry about themselves, which is, it's really kind of helpful to your allies to kind of have that going for you. So yeah, I mean, it's also just kind of fun to have things going really well towards the end of a game like this. But anyways, I'm probably gonna wrap up this video here because, you know, obviously Grumpy Kitten just surrendered. But yeah, this Wonder is going up here. I really love this sort of artwork that they put into Age of Mythology, because this just looks so cool. It's really a shame that people don't play this game quite as much as they used to anymore. It really has such a rich history attached to it as well. There's not really that many games that I've found that even come anywhere near or anywhere close to the historical significance of games like Age of Mythology, or even things like Age of Empires. But yeah, anyways, I'm going to close off this video here. If you liked the video, please do give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my YouTube channel. And I will be seeing you all back for a future video. Thanks for watching. Bye.